Ditch Diggers, Season 10, Episode 0.
Ditch diggers appear and ain't no wannabes here with some not so nice advice for your writing career. To be clear, no punches will be pulled, but the punch may be spiked how they like before they get on the mic. To my left we got the mighty Mur Lafferty, and if I piss her off, believe me, she'll come after me. And her co-host Ursula Vernon on the right, yeah, she's burning to recite a slime mold speech tonight. So settle in, folks, buckle in and boot up. Time to meddle in a way to make your writer shut up. It's hard work, but the perk is that it's fun and exciting. Facebook will still be there when you're done writing. Ditch diggers! Ditch diggers!
And I don't even know if we just played theme song or not, because while Devo Spice has offered to record a theme song for us, I haven't actually asked him to do that yet, which I probably should do. But we will be getting a theme song that features Ursula instead of Matt.
Ooh!
And Matt,
If it's easier for him to rhyme like Kingfisher, he should feel free to, because Ursula is not the easiest word to rhyme. I know.
okay, I will let him know. But yeah, Ditch Diggers is back. Ursula Vernon is taking over from Matt Wallace with Matt's blessing. And Ursula Vernon, also known as T. Kingfisher, friend of show. She's been co-host several times, but I'm just really glad that you know, that moment in the mineral whirlpool on that boat we were on. I said, "Do you want to help out with Ditch Diggers?" And she said yes. So, was very glad to be bringing it back. Thank you, Ursula. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. To punt the elephant in the room, in case anyone was still worried about the elephant, I don't have cancer anymore. It's all gone. We're all good. I am through with all of the treatments and everything. So basically, the only thing that happens now is I get like way more checkups than I should, and I'm on a couple of pills that I get to be on for the rest of my life.
Yay. But no,
I'm good. No more cancer. Yes, and working on building up the stamina, because that is a lot of physical abuse to lay on your body, and it's annoying that I genuinely am not as young as I used to be, and I do not bounce back immediately from like 8 months of poison. Yeah.
I just thought it'd be really funny to do a murder mystery where you find out that someone is slowly poisoning their spouse, and it's just chemo. And they're supposed to have it. So, but I do want to say that, you know, Ursula, I don't think there is an elephant in your room, because you're pretty much open to talk about anything.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything. The only things that I think I wouldn't want to talk about are like stuff that involves other people that might be their private thing. But yeah, for me, I'm like, I got nothing to hide.
Exactly. So yeah, if you are new, or you need to be reminded, Ditch Diggers is a show that treats writing, and that's any kind of writing really, as a job. Because if you want to make money, you have to think about it like a job. And I know there's a lot of people who want to talk about the art and the craft, and they think that what I just said is the nastiest thing I've ever spoken by people who word. But that's when I need to make a deadline. I have to remember, I have to go to work. And just like people who dig ditches, people who do surgery, but surgery diggers or surgery cutters was not quite as alliterative.
That's not the same ring to it.
Yeah. So, yes, craft is important, art is important, but if you actually want to make a living with your writing, you have to remember that you can't afford writer's block. And so we talk about the business. We talk about agents and editors and copy editors, and we're going to talk a little bit about awards and social media today, and backing up. So
there are lots of great podcasts out there for craft. Yes. There are tons. You should go listen to them. It is very important. It is critical. It is not what this is about.
Right. Exactly. So I am working on my, the third book in my Midsolar Murders series called Infinite Archive. I'm working on edits for that. I hate editing, but as I just said, introducing the show, it's part of the job, so I have to do it. Do you want to say anything you're working on?
Oh, yeah. I am currently working on a dark fantasy retelling of Snow White, or at least it started out that way. But honestly, Snow White was the least interesting character in the whole thing. So she has been relegated to a very minor position, and it's mostly about mirrors and poisons. Mm-hmm. And it is. I'm enjoying it, and the writing is going well. I can sit down and knock out 1,000 words generally without a problem. This is my cat walking in front of the screen. And so that's going well. I'm also, frankly, overdue on the third Sworn Soldier novella, which I got an extension on because...
Cancer.
Okay. Only part of it was cancer. Some of it was cancer, but a lot of it was that I didn't so much write myself into a corner, but I got stuck on and realized I had done some stuff wrong and was like, okay, I have over-explained the monster because I thought the monster was really interesting, and yes, many readers would love to sit through 3 pages on the biology of the monster. But the narrator and main character, Alex, would not. So it's I have to do some reshuffling mentally, and I'm just about at the point where I can handle it again. Unfortunately, I was able to get an extension on it because they really want the dark fantasy novel next. So it's all working out.
Yeah. Also, you had cancer, which I believe could have affected, how you're thinking. You're not blaming it on the cancer, but your body dealt with a lot of crap.
It did, yes.
You got to remember that, the body and the hormones and the mind, they're all connected. So just cut yourself some slack, dude.
Yeah, but I was going to hand it in March, and it's May now.
Yeah, it's still a month that begins with M. It's the same thing. I tried to tell myself that earlier this morning when I missed a smaller deadline. But anyway, so one thing I wanted to talk about was it's funny on a level of you have to laugh or else you'll cry. I've talked about this on my other podcast, I Should Be Writing, before, but I want to talk about it now again because you're here. The Hugos happened.
Oh, yes, they did.
Last year.
They happened to me.
Last October. We don't need to go into a long description, but do you want to tell what happened? But overall, not the you personally part, but the overall.
It turned out that everything seemed to be fairly normal, and then they released the nomination numbers, and they were not possible. Mathematically, it could not have happened. A lot of people got into it and were like, what the hell is going on? And it eventually came to light that the administrator had pulled a lot of shenanigans, very bad shenanigans.
The American administrator, right?
The American administrator, yes. This was, and part of the problem is this was set in, the Hugo ceremony itself was set in Chengdu, China, and so there was a lot of, it varied between concern that the Chinese government was censoring to just outright racism. And so everything got really unpleasant.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as far as we can tell, the American administrator just unilaterally kicked a bunch of people off the ballot and disallowed a lot of Chinese votes because he wanted to.
Yeah.
Which meant that a lot of people did not get nominated who should have been nominated, and a bunch of people who did get nominated should have been not nominated, including myself. And I won the big one, the best novel, and should not even have been on the ballot, which is a little awkward.
You didn't.
Which I mean, extraordinarily awkward.
You weren't on the. You wouldn't have been on the ballot.
I wouldn't have even been on the ballot.
Wow. So what were you, like, sixth or seventh, or?
I think I was seventh.
Wow.
I think I was, and then it would have been Legends and Lattes would have been sixth, and then I think Babel was fifth.
Then what else? But both you and your book and Legends and Lattes were nominated. So what was the other book that got knocked off? Was there a Chinese book, or?
Oh yeah, it was 4 Chinese books that got
Okay.
or 4 Chinese books, and Babel by
Yes.
R.F. Kuang
Yes.
got knocked off.
So here's the deal. I'm biased, but because Ursula is one of my best friends. But Ursula is a kind person. Ursula does not like to see other people suffer. And you are getting crap for winning Best Novel, and you are being told to give it back or give it to R.F. Kuang or something. What would be step one if you were to think, I don't deserve this?
The only step that I came up with was being on social media going, this is messed up. This is not, none of us should have been on the ballot. This is not okay. And as pointing out, sadly, that there is no actual mechanism to renounce a Hugo. Like, I can say until I'm blue in the face that I did not win it. And I am still going to be listed on Wikipedia as the winner with like 10 asterisks. And because there are like a lot of, because the structure of the Hugos in the World Science Fiction Society is very Baroque and labyrinthical and involves a lot more Robert's Rules of Order than any sane human should want to deal with.
So much Robert's Rules of Order.
And because this had never happened before, there was never a mechanism put into the Constitution to deal with what if we was rerunning the thing or anything. It was like, we don't know how to do this. There is no mechanism currently in place by which those of us who won, who should not have won, can go. But we can get off the history, essentially.
Yeah.
And most of the other winners have said the exact same thing. Have said, this is not cool. We did not win this. It's not being printed on any of my books or on any copies of Nettle and Bone, which was the book.
Okay. That is one thing I did not think of. That's interesting. That's one thing you can do. Okay. Also, I don't think anybody in America who won has gotten a rocket yet, right?
Oh, none of us have gotten our trophies yet. No.
Yeah, so you don't even have a rocket to give back.
No, they were broken in transit, and then they all went to, ironically, the house of the Hugo administrator who screwed everything up, who is now persona non grata in fandom.
Very much.
And it's not like, we're sitting at home polishing the rocket, laughing maniacally.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it. It's just a weird thing that happened.
Yeah. Unfortunate, weird thing.
And the downside, particularly if you are active on social media, as I am, is that there will be people who show up who are like, well, you should be doing something to fix this. And it's like,
what? Tell me. I'll do it.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But the only suggestion that anyone has come up with is that I should take the apparently millions I earned by being a Hugo winner to make a new award for Chinese fandom. And I'm like,
wow, that's a lot to ask.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, leaving aside the fact that requires a whole skill set I do not have in administration and everything else, we're going to need an audit of the, like, how do you double blind that? But like, I'm sure I made some money. You could undoubtedly buy everyone a couple of pizzas, but yeah.
I remember when you won your first Hugo in 2013 for Digger, that it was your own math that you were doing, but you decided to try to figure out how much money that Hugo got you by looking at sales before and after the ceremony. And I believe it was somewhere in the $1,600 range.
Yeah, thereabouts. Granted, webcomic is not best novel.
Yes.
What I have heard from a couple of people, and I think it was Charlie Strauss who said it, the big thing that a Hugo for best novel will get you is that you are more likely to stay in print. But that was back in the day when staying in print was more difficult because print on demand didn't exist.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't think people realize by the time you win a best novel Hugo, that book is backlist because it's been out for at least 10 months, probably a year.
Yeah.
And so it is firmly in the backlist. And I am lucky my backlist continues to earn out because I have published like 4 or 5 books since then. But yeah, it's not like you get a sudden new launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sorry the Hugos happened to you. I do think that not advertising it anywhere, because your publicist and your marketers really like to take anything you've won and put it on your books to entice new readers. It's a common
I won't
thing.
swear that it's not on Amazon, but I'm pretty sure it's not on any of the covers.
Yeah.
And part of that is that like there's like 5 different moving parts in who puts something where. So you can say, let's not do this, but the odds of it getting through to everybody are slim.
Sure. Ian in the chat asks, does winning a Hugo make getting the next book approved easier? And I'm just going to say that Ursula's kind of on fire right now with as much as she's putting out and as lauded as her works are. I don't think they're going to take that into consideration.
The one thing that happened is that they want more of whatever won, so they were like, okay, let's definitely go all in on the dark fantasy now,
right?
Because that was the big thing, but that's not just from the Hugo. That's also looking at like sales numbers and whatnot. And the dark fantasy is selling and is the big seller. Ergo, write more of that. And so the only thing we did was like, there was some other stuff on the schedule and they were like, can we move this one that isn't out and do the next dark fantasy first? Which, that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to juggle things as needed. But, it's not like they said, don't write that thing we bought now, write this other thing. They were just like, no, and since they have I think I've sold them 6 books or something on contract, we can move delivery dates around without changing anything.
Right. So yeah, that's exciting. But for this year, we're going to have an ad break soon, but I want to say one more thing. For this year, you are nominated again for Thornhedge.
For novella, yes, for Thornhedge.
Novella. Yes, I just got a new bookcase, and so I got to clean up all the books on the floor here, and I'm so happy. And so I have my Prima Mohammed section and my Valerie Valdez section and my Ursula Vernon section. So that was cool. I need to get a picture of that. But yes, congratulations on your best novella. Godspeed.
And I will say that Glasgow, who is hosting this year's Hugos, is being transparent to the point of bending over backwards. They are more transparent than anyone has been. The minute that the nominees came out, they were like, here is the range of, they won't tell you exactly how many votes you got, but here is the range of votes. Here are the names of the people or the works that were not, that either recused themselves or were disqualified because they were in the wrong year.
Right.
We have notified all of them in advance. We have discussed this, everything. They were very, very, very transparent.
Excellent. Well, we're going to have that. Oh, the ad just came up. So perfect timing.
Yes, she has had a treat.
Oh, good.
And now there's a cat, but
Yeah.
oh, buddy.
Lee does say that did love Ursula's dealing with cancer comics.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it was cathartic to do them.
Yeah.
And I have already heard from at least one person who was like, yeah, went and got checked out because you posted something, and thank you. That turned out to be serious. So if you have a weird lump and you have been ignoring it, hoping it will go away, consider bringing your doctor in on the ignoring it part. I say this is someone who would attempt to sleep off a decapitation.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, keeping up with your health. Also important to ditch digging because you can't, it's hard to write when you're not.
Oh, God, yeah. And also a plug for health insurance, however you can get it, because if it was, I mean, I am doing great at the moment. The books are selling like wildfire. I am, by my own standards, at least wildly successful, and I would be bankrupt if Kevin did not, have insurance.
Yeah. So, another thing I wanted to talk about was the Google Drive debacle that Madeline Ashby reported on this past weekend. Google, an author learned that their Google Drive account had been locked with no access to it, and because of was it violation of terms and conditions or something? And,
it was deemed inappropriate use, and
which is
she assumed that inappropriate was because she was an erotica author.
Right, but it did come to pass that the she was also using Google Drive to send it out to people. We don't know
to
how
her
many,
beta readers, yeah.
But apparently it was enough to flag her as spam. So whether it was because of the spiciness or because of the spamming or something else, I want to talk about backing up because I do about one show every year or 2 years about all the options for backing up because I think it's very important. And I have multiple redundancies here and off-site. I have stuff I pay for and stuff I don't pay for. Google Drive is one of the places I have suggested backing up your work. And now, if they can just say inappropriate without giving you much information and lock your stuff away so you can't get it, I can't recommend it anymore.
Yeah. I suspect, given the mechanisms involved, that probably it was being flagged as spam for sending that. And I believe it was in the article that Google said basically you sent so many invites to strangers over a short period of time that is spammer behavior, so the bot flags it. But the problem is that getting a human instead of a bot takes a really long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And meanwhile, you may have hundreds of thousands of words, which in this case, I think it was 200,000 and some words.
Yeah, 220 something, yeah.
That you suddenly no longer have access to. And depending on how tight your deadline is, that could be fatal. So...
Yeah. So I know the free options are very attractive for obvious reasons, but you might want to look into options that are actually cost money, because if you don't spend it now, you might. It's like it's like estimated taxes. If you don't spend it now, you may have something a lot more expensive in the future, especially if you lose all your work. So Ursula, with your sysadmin spouse, I assume you have a pretty good backup system, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
I have Dropbox. I pay for Dropbox. It's hooked to the thing. No, my sysadmin spouse does this all day for a living and is therefore very, very clear that he would prefer not to do it in his off hours. And this is a perfectly good system so it's on my computer, it's in Dropbox, and it is highly unlikely that both of those will fail simultaneously. So, and I think there's also an Apple Drive backup thing going on. So, and it's also on through Dropbox, some of the things are saved to my iPad now and again. So basically, he's just like, use one of the out-of-the-box ones. They work great. I am not building a custom solution when I would prefer to not be thinking about computers. Right. So yeah, Dropbox has worked great for me for over a decade now. I pay them money and I use them, and there's never been any hiccups. I think once upon a time they may have had a security breach, but they have never had a we lost everything breach. Mm-hmm. I would not suggest putting it only on Dropbox.
Right. Yeah, I have redundancies. So I have an external hard drive, and I have, and that's my whole, I back up my whole computer that way. And then I have, I pay for Google One. I'm probably going to need to make sure that they can't lock me out of anything, but that is just another redundancy. I have Backblaze, and my Scrivener is tied to Dropbox. So Scrivener constantly uploads copies to Dropbox for me. So
that's what Word does for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's those are my redundancies. So I'm paying for Backblaze, and I'm paying like $3 a month for Google One. And, even if you're thinking, okay, well, I do want to send out invites, maybe not so many that will tag me as spam, but I do want to send some out, you still can use things like Google Drive, but don't let all of your stuff live there. This is why redundancies are good, because if one bot decides you're inappropriate for this place, this is the whole eggs in one basket scenario. So I just beg people, please do backup. Forerunner in chat says the tech nerd in me says 3-2-1 rule. I don't know the 3-2-1 rule for backing up.
I only know it for conventions.
Yeah, me too. Which is a good segue, actually. Matt would be proud of us.
Oh yes, 3 meals,
2 hours of sleep. No, I thought it was 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals, 1 shower.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. 3 copies, primary and 2 backups, 2 different mediums with 1 offsite. 2 different mediums. Do you mean we should always print it out, or like PDF and doc? I'm a little confused at that part. But anyway, while Forerunner follows up, if possible, I just came back. I've actually done a lot of convention type stuff this year already, which is unlike me. In the before times, but I've done BossCon. I was guest of honor at FenCon. I went on the Joko cruise, which is pretty much just a con, but the hotel's on its side in the ocean. And then I did. I just got back from the Savage Mill Geek Fest in Savage, Maryland. And then I've got NASFIC coming up. So I've been really thinking about cons a lot lately.
Yes, and I, in fact, have done quite a few, too. I just got off of the Wombat World Tour, which was, I had Minicon in Minnesota. I was home for about 20 hours. I went to Australia for 2 weeks, did SupernovaCon twice. It's a sort of traveling convention, so we did it one weekend in Melbourne and then one in Gold Coast. Did a book tour with signings in the middle of those two, got back, had a week off, went to RavenCon. So I've also been majorly on the con circuit and for the last month or so.
Yeah. A Forerunner updates by saying no storage mediums, hard drive, SD card, tape, DVD, etc. It's probably the least important part of the rule now. Got it. So that's like cloud and hard drive. For most of us, I guess. I used to try to do the thumb drive, but I frankly just forget to do it, which is why I like the fact that all of these are automated.
Oh, yeah. If I had to, remember even to hit a button to upload the day's work to Dropbox, I would be in trouble. But It does it automatically, thankfully. So that's why it was a good solution for those of us who are forgetful.
Right. But back to conventions. Well, you suggested talking about conventions. What do you think we should cover?
Well, in professional terms, I suppose, are they worth it? Because they are a convention is very different if you are working than if you're a fan. It is, you are there to either promote your work, interact with fans, sell books, depending on what you're doing. And there is a difference between working the con and attending the con. So if you are a working author and you are like, I should go to a con as an author, is that worth it financially, marketing wise, whatever?
Right. If you're looking for, like you did with your Hugo for Digger, looking at the numbers before the con I sold this and after the con I sold this, I don't think it's worth it. Definitely not. A while back, somebody was saying that authors in their early career should go to Worldcon to network. Authors later in their career should go to DragonCon to meet readers, which I thought was interesting. But that was like,
that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of no worse place to go to talk to another human being than DragonCon.
Maybe San Diego.
Also rough. I've done both of those cons, and they're a lot.
Yeah.
And it's very hard. There's so much going on. It's very hard to meet anyone. So, I don't know if I would suggest them as good fan relations cons, unless you have, it's probably better if you're like a celebrity or something.
Yeah.
Than if you're, a word slinger. Maybe if you do comics, I don't know. That's like on the Marvel scale.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you there.
Yeah. I don't look at my career before and after a con in the terms of money, but I think they are very useful for networking. Very useful. Meeting.
Let me just.
Okay, we are muting the Hound. Sorry, Hound. So yeah, you never know who you meet in person that will help you in your career 5-10 years down the road. You can meet authors, you can meet agents, you can meet assistant editors who are not acquiring now, but may be acquiring in 3 years and may remember meeting you at a con because you were pleasant to them. It is the work I did with I Should Be Writing and Ditch Diggers has gotten me to know a lot of authors, which has gotten me to meet a lot of people at cons through them. And that's always been really useful and helpful. So I still say they're definitely worth it. Like this past weekend, we didn't have a huge turnout. It was wet and it was a new con, so I think that hurt it. I did meet somebody who I'd met on the Joko cruise, and between the Joko cruise and now, the Joko cruise was mid-March and it is currently early May. She's already read 3 of my books and was excited to meet me again. Did I have a large quantity of people? No. But I also got to touch base with Phil Plait, who I haven't seen in about a decade. And Phil's a friend. I love him dearly. But it also doesn't hurt the fact that I know the Bad Astronomer. And so renewing that friendship can also be a thing to help me out down the road, even if it's just introduce me to someone. So I still think networking at a con is invaluable.
It's honestly a lot of times, a lot of things, a lot of con stuff is. I can never tell where networking begins and catching up with friends leaves off. I think
it's all the same thing.
It probably is. So many of us have lifelong friendships that are lived an hour at a time at conventions years apart.
Yeah.
So I have done cons that were I had interactions that were very networky. I knew I was talking to an editor. I knew that there might eventually be some that I was hopefully getting in that person's brain a little, and they would remember me later. But I have also just, been like, yay, I see you again. It's been years, to friends who, okay, maybe we might blurb each other, but that's a minor thing. So yeah, it's hard to say. In terms of immediate financial payoff, I do not think that cons are like, you're not going to sell, like, you're not going to go to a con to make the money to make the house payment or anything.
Yeah.
It's which is interesting, because when I was mostly doing it as an artist, and I would get a dealer's table, some cons that would be, what I live on for 2 or 3 months afterwards, the big conventions. But it's very different as an author. It may be that if you are a self-published or indie author who is selling direct at table sales, that conventions can be big. I don't know. I've never really tried to do that.
I did.
So I have no idea how it works out.
I did meet an indie author at Savage Mill who was basically saying how he built his career, and he made his book, he got a professional cover, he made like a really nice booth at a con, and they were getting attention and they were selling books, and his wife's like, yes, book 2 will be out next year. And he said, it will? And she said, yes, because we're coming back here next year and these people aren't going to come buy book 1 again. So that's what got him writing book 2. And he says they do a lot of cons every year and they make good money on it, but that feels like another full-time job to me. And I've talked about this before, but for me anyway, I don't see a huge benefit of selling books by hand, because I want my publisher to see those sales so that will get me another book. If I have great luck selling books at a con, those are all people who my publisher doesn't know about. So yeah. But I know some people who do want to sell at cons, but I think you can do it. It's just, it requires a lot of hustling, and the very thought of it makes me tired.
Oh yeah. I no longer do dealers tables selling art at cons, because I just do not have I have another income source now, but it takes it out of you. Mm-hmm. And there are people who love the hustle and the sales pitch. I do not. And all that said, while it is undoubtedly possible to make money selling books at cons, let me tell you a cautionary tale of horror. Once upon a time, I was on a panel about self-publishing, and we were we went through and did our speech, how each of us was involved with self-publishing. We got to the gentleman on the end who explained that his wife had written a book, and he had decided that it was now the full-time job to promote the book. So they sold the house, bought an RV, put their 3 kids in it, and drove around the country doing a convention every weekend to hand sell this book at a table. And
did the children get educated?
I don't know.
Okay.
I assume they were being homeschooled. By the end of it, the 3 of us on the panel who were authors were basically doing the full body cringe away while still trying to look polite thing in absolute horror, because I don't do that. Please don't do that. I went to dinner with Tamara Pierce after that, and Tamara Pierce is a very sweet human being, and she wanted to slash their tires and call child services. Yeah. No, this is not the way to make money. If you are thinking about doing this, please have someone talk sense into you. It probably shouldn't be me, but yeah, no, this is a very bad idea. Do not sell your house and buy an RV to promote your book and think you will make money that way, because that is not a good way.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That story, that man lives in my soul. Like, I feel so bad for his wife who wrote a book and now has, the intolerable pressure of when this, of course, fails, because how can it not fail? She will feel like it's her fault.
Yeah. Can you remember? I'm not saying you shouldn't name it while we're recording, but do you remember who that was? We could probably
not in the slightest.
Okay. I
sort of remember the cover. It was actually a pretty good cover. Yeah.
I remember I went to a con, and I want to say it's the mid-aughts, where right before ebooks got huge, when like people would announce just ebook deals, and there were ebook publishers, and I went to a panel where there were 3 ebook writers. 2 of them were older veterans, and I can't remember if they were veterans of the ebook publishing or if just veterans of publishing overall. And in between these 2 older women was this young man, and I always think of him like Art Garfunkel because he had the Art Garfunkel hair. And he was sitting there and he looked so happy. He was so excited to be on a panel and talk about his new book deal that he got. And then one woman just like I'm pretty sure we were not talking. I'm pretty sure the point of the panel was not you should quit writing. But it's like the 2 women just started talking about how joyless and pointless this job is, that you'll make more money at McDonald's, and just going, and you could just see, your full body cringe. Well, he had the full body deflate because he was getting it on both sides of how terrible this entire world of ebook publishing is. And he was just kind of melting. I just wanted to hug him. I wish I could remember who that was, because I would hope he had a better career after that. But I guess what we're saying is sometimes you can meet someone at a con who would either be poison or insert dangerous thoughts into your head. And you can think all sorts of things. Just don't quit your job, sell your house, and sell books on the road like a traveling salesman. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes, the Kids Are Asleep says if you don't enjoy it, then stop. Exactly. Yeah, they should have stopped, and he could keep on with his ebook publishing and be happy.
And particularly in self-pub, you don't need to make a living at it. It is fine to just do a book because you love it and have it out there, and maybe it makes grocery money, and that's great. That is, wild success. It's but that ties into my you don't have to monetize your hobbies rant, which I will do another day.
Yeah.
I will say, oddly enough, I have facts and figures. I almost never do, but about the Australia book tour.
Okay.
And this ties into our book tours worth it, which is another question. The answer is for adults, probably not, unless you're a Blockbuster. If you're doing kids' books, yes, but they're brutal. So this was the first time I actually went out on a book tour as an adult, as an author for writers.
Really?
An author for adults, not for writers. Yeah. Yeah, because I have done a lot of kid book tours, and they're brutal.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew that your Australia thing was officially a book tour as well, so I'm just out of touch all over.
No, it was the trip was paid for half by the publisher, the Titan UK, who has the Commonwealth rights, which include Australia, and half by the convention, SupernovaCon, which had me there as a guest, basically bookending this book tour. And then the publisher that they work with, New South Press, New South Publications, has basically a table at both, or a big booth really, at both conventions, and sold books there. And I can actually, since the delightful assistant wrangler that they sent me to make sure I went places where I was supposed to be on time, handily emailed me a full list. And basically, for the 5 books that they were selling, we sold between 1,200 and 1,400 copies of each one.
Wow!
In terms of both table sales and what bookstores ordered in as stock, because I was going to be there.
Wow, that's amazing! Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It was great, and part of that is just that is, fans down under are not used to authors coming there most of the time from the States because nobody ever sends them out there. I'm sure the authors would love to go, but it's an expensive plane ticket, and it's also like a 16-hour flight, which is brutal. So a lot more people came out than would probably come out if, either if you were an Aussie author who had been there around a while, or if this was your third or fourth trip to Australia or whatnot. But it was great. I had a fabulous time. No complaints at all about the trip. But you are still looking at was the amount that, okay, let me do math. Let's say 6,500 books get sold total. Let's say most of them are $20. Does the publisher make enough on 6,000 books at $20 each to pay for the plane ticket and the hotel rooms and all of that? And the answer is, I don't know. I do not know what their margins look like, so I genuinely have no idea.
Right.
But, and how much is, for an author who is not paying for any of it, of course, it's totally worth it because, hey, free trip to Australia and for the price of sitting at a con booth on 2 successive weekends and then going out and signing and talking to people.
Right.
And I am fortunate in that it is fairly easy for me to talk to people at bookstores. I have acquired the skill somewhere of public speaking to groups of readers. It is not excruciating. There are some people for whom that would be exhausting, and maybe that's not the thing you want to do. And again, in terms of personal sales, let's see, 6,500 books at $20 a piece is what, 13,000, and I get 10 to 12% of that, so $1,300, $1,500, something like that
for 2 weeks.
Which, for basically 2 weeks of work. No, that would not be worth it. But getting paid that on top of getting a free trip to Australia, yeah, absolutely. It's just sort of comes down to, if you enjoy doing it and you're going somewhere you want to go, great. And in fact, that is my current rule for doing cons is it somewhere I wish to go?
Yeah.
So I will absolutely say yes to FinCon. In fact, trip to Finland. Fantastic. I love Finland.
Yeah.
I am less likely to go to, places I've been a dozen times or places Texas, it has many things to recommend it, but I have been to Texas on multiple occasions, and it's unlikely that, it's going to come up with a new convention to excite me.
Right.
I will always go to New Orleans. You have to make the decisions based on a lot of intangibles, but in terms of financial benefit at the time, you're not going to see a lot, so do not go to them thinking you'll get rich. There may, however, be long-term amounts, and also, we haven't really discussed, meeting the fans is very, very, very important. There are people who come up who have, want to tell you very personal stories of, how, maybe your book changed their kid's life or something. Mm-hmm. That is that is amazing. That is a thing that is not quantifiable. And it is absolutely a privilege to be able to go and talk to people like that and have conversations like that. I'm not going to lie, that is also an emotionally draining experience because holding space for people to tell you very personal and meaningful things is absolutely worth it, but it is not something that is, energy free. Yeah. You come away going, I just did a lot of work and it was great and I'm glad I did it, but wow, I need to sit down for a minute.
Yeah.
So these are all considerations that you have to weigh.
Yeah. Sorry, we did not stop for the ad break, but essentially Ursula's saying it may not always be worthwhile monetarily, but it is worthwhile to meet the fans because that's that. And that's, you got to remember, that's something they're going to remember probably for the rest of their life. And that's important. And they can say, you want someone to read? Well, this is the best author I know because she, changed my life with her book. And then she listened to me while I told her how she changed my life with her book. And
it's, yeah. And also, it is possible that if you have a perfectly pleasant interaction, they will not remember it for the rest of their life. But if you have a negative one, they absolutely will. So this is one of those, know yourself, know if you can handle that kind of thing. Because if you can't, it is better to stay home than do it badly.
Yeah, definitely.
Much like social media.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Definitely don't take it out on the fans.
And it's not even necessarily taking out on the fans, just if you freeze like a deer in the headlights when somebody talks to you, which, no shade, I have been there. Like, get me drunk sometime and ask me about the time I met Peter S. Beagle. But if you know you are a person who cannot handle that, that is okay to know that about yourself and say, I need to skip this part of of authoring. And if it is something you feel you can't skip, I don't know what the best way to desensitize yourself to meeting new people is.
Go to a con.
Probably. Go to cons.
When you're not the one being sought after. I'd gone to cons many, many times before I ever got an audience, sold, got a podcast or sold a book or anything. And so I was used to going to cons and meeting people and talking to strangers for a little while. And so when it came time for people to, want to talk to me, I like to think I'm I'm smooth about it. I'm cool, and
I think you're cool, Mur.
So does my mom. Thank you.
That is a great suggestion. It's probably better than mine, which is go canvass for your local political party, because they will actually give you a brief training in how to go talk to a stranger about something important. And
that
more
is
importantly,
really interesting.
Talking about you. So about yourself, which is awkward for people often.
But after I do get the training, I will have to canvass, and talking to a stranger about politics is possibly... I'd rather go to the dentist. And y'all know my fears of going to the dentist, so yeah.
I'm just saying that's one way to do it. That was the thing that came to mind.
All right. So, does anybody in the chat have any questions for the Ditch Diggers before we sign off? We've been going about an hour, so I should let Ursula get a little bit back to her day. And the Hound and the...
Yes, the Hound has... The UPS guy will not kill us all in our sleep. Hound is on the job.
I don't know. You can never be sure.
UPS guy's pretty shady.
Yeah. Rosa agrees. Very scary. Forerunner says, canvassing at this point is less talking politics and more convincing people who like your candidate to actually vote. Okay. Well, if I
That's probably very true.
Find the people who like my candidate, I don't know. Anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about the business of what we're doing here?
Well, we got to save something for later shows.
That's true. Typically, we're going to be going every other Monday, 3 p.m. on Twitch. In 2 weeks, I'm going to actually be on the road, and Ursula and I are trying to figure out a better time to be live. So we're going to figure that out, and then we'll be on then. Where can we find you online, Ursula?
I'm on Blue Sky a lot these days as T. Kingfisher. You can find my website at redwombatstudio.com, although if you enter either tkingfisher.com or ursulavernon.com, you will wind up redirected there. So just enter my name in a search engine, and it will shine the bat signal over Gotham.
Oh, excellent. I want a bat signal.
More of a wombat signal, I guess, but yes.
Well, yes. And you can find me and this podcast and all the information connected to it at murverse.com. We're also going to get a new logo. We're going to get Numbers Ninja, my kid and artist, to give us a Ursula in the style of Numbers Ninja. And so we'll be making a new logo that way. So watch this space. Subscribe to either the stream or the podcast, and we'll see you next time we do something cool.
I really hope I don't get hit by a bus like next week after you've had the logo and the song redone, because that's going to be so much work.
It would be a lot of work. Also, making you better from being hit by a bus also would be work.
Yes.
So,
I will try to avoid buses.
This episode of Ditch Diggers was brought to you by The Fabulists. You can be a Fabulist too if you support the Patreon at patreon.com/mightymur, or you can also support over at Twitch, twitch.tv/mightymur, or you can support my Substack at mightymur.substack.com. Theme music provided by Devo Spice. You can find out more about him at devospice.com. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 license. Art by Numbers Ninja. Hosting by Libsyn. And you can see the archives at murverse.com. Thanks for listening.